People often ask me what it is that I like about ArcGIS Pro, or why is it so cool, or why do I need to leave ArcMap? I can't really say that you need to leave ArcMap. That's a business decision you're going to have to make. But I can show you some of the things that I really like about ArcGIS Pro. So I've got 5 little things here in the video that I wanted to show you about ArcGIS Pro and kind of how it differentiates itself from ArcMap just a little bit. So just 5 little things that I like. Thing number 1, it's fast. It opens fast and it draws fast and it runs tools quickly. So this 64-bit software really is much faster than what we had in the ArcMap world. So I open Pro, I open a project, just in a couple of seconds I'm ready to get started working. So that's thing number 1, it's fast. Thing number 2 you've probably heard about is the 2D, 3D visualization side by side without having to have a 3D analyst extension. So now if you want to do any analysis in 3D, you need to get a 3D analyst extension. But if you're just doing visualization, you can do it right here in Pro. So here's a 2D map, here's a 3D map. And the map comes with, or ArcGIS Pro comes with a built-in elevation data set for the whole world. It's not high enough resolution to do really detailed work, but it's not a bad data set, especially for regional studies. So here's a 3D map. Of course, it doesn't look like 3D right now, but if I rotate it up a little bit, then you can see the elevation coming out. And what's really cool about this is Pro makes it very easy for me to assign or use my own elevation data as a source for this imagery. So up here in a different part of the world, I have a location up around Arlington, Texas, where there's a construction site. And the built-in elevation data isn't really good for showing me what's going on in a construction site. For number 1, it's not high enough resolution. And number 2, the elevation that you're seeing for free is the bare earth elevation, right? The stuff that comes with Pro. But if you've got your own LiDAR data, which I have for this area, you can apply the elevations from a DEM created from LiDAR data onto this base map imagery. So the imagery is the base map stuff that is available with ArcGIS Pro. So I'm going to go down here, oops, and I'm going to tell this base map imagery to get its elevation from my custom elevation source, which is my LiDAR data, which I've loaded down here. It's actually in 4 different pieces. So I have 4 different LiDAR files, elevation data created from LiDAR files. And I'm going to say, okay, imagery, grab your elevation from this guy instead. So you'll see that the LiDAR gives me a lot more detail in the area where I'm working, not only detail of existing features, right, more detail over here, but I can also see temporal data or changes that are going on because of this construction that might not have been evident in the included elevation data. And that it's a very easy change. I don't have a fancy computer here and I haven't done any high-end analysis. I just brought the elevation data in and I said, base map, grab your elevation from my data instead of your own. So that 2D, 3D visualization, plus that ability to use your own LiDAR as an elevation source is just so easy in Pro. So that's thing number 2. Thing number 1, it's fast. Thing number 2 is this 2D, 3D visualization. The third thing that I like so much about Pro is the just constant integration with Portal and ArcGIS Online. Oh wait, before I go to that, I wanted to mention this 3D stuff is not just for elevation data. Here I have a 3D scene from the subsurface in the Gulf of Mexico. This is data provided by Earth Science Associates and their GOM cubed or Gulf of Mexico 3D data product. But what you're looking at are oil and gas wells drilled down into different fields in the Gulf of Mexico, and so you're able to see that in 3D and rotate around and even do fly-throughs through these fields. So the elevation or the 3D display is not just for above ground stuff, it's also really good at subsurface. Okay, but back to the third thing is the ArcGIS Online and Portal integration, right? Over here in Catalog, I have a tab for Portal. It's just built in. So what you're seeing is all of my content from Portal, things that I've created out in ArcGIS Online or my Portal, right? And in this case, I'm connected to my ArcGIS Online account, but it would work the same if it's your Portal. So for example, in here, I have a map that I've created. Where did I put it? So it's this New Orleans toxic release, so I can right click and say add and open. So this is a map that I created in ArcGIS Online using some online web services, not my own data. But I created in ArcGIS Online, I can just open it right here in Pro. And I can go the other way around. I can take a map that I've created in Pro and quite easily share it as a web map or a web layer and just publish it right out to ArcGIS Online or Pro. So the integration with ArcGIS Online and Portal is just so easy in ArcGIS Pro. So that's the thing number 3, is that ArcGIS Online Portal integration. Oh, so imagine I've got a partner I'm working with in the UK and I'm here in the US. I can take this map, publish it to my portal or my ArcGIS Online account, and in just a couple minutes he or she can download that map into their Pro and start working. No issue with sending them details to get onto an FTP site or zipping up files and sending it their way. I just push it out to Portal or ArcGIS Online, they download it, we're good. So it makes sharing of data throughout your organization so much faster. Okay, so that's thing number 3. If we're looking at my list here, thing number 1, it's fast. Thing number 2, 2D and 3D visualization and being able to use your own elevation data. Thing number 3 is the AGOL portal integration. And thing number 4 is that Pro can have multiple layouts. You've probably heard about that as well through all the conferences and all the talk and buzz around ArcGIS Pro, but it's really quite easy. I can go to Insert, New Layout, pick a paper size, and that layout shows up as a tab. And I can rename that guy. Maybe I'll just call it my first layout. And I can put map frames on the layout, similar to data frames from ArcMap, but I can also put 3D scenes onto my layouts. So it takes both 2D and 3D views can be printed on these layouts. But then the cool thing is the layouts that get created get stored over here in my catalog tree. So when I go to catalog, you can see my layouts here. So then if I insert a second layout with a different paper size, again, it shows up here in my catalog tree. So I can have as many layouts as I want, different paper sizes, different views of my data, different combinations of 2D and 3D data. So just quickly, that is number 4 of the 5 top things I love about Pro. And then the last one is this on-the-fly data manipulation with Arcade. What I mean by that is back here, if I look at this map, these are petroleum storage tanks in a facility in Baytown, Texas. And if I look at the attribute table, these tanks have a year built and a status, either active or decommissioned, and they have a type. So let's say I want to do a unique value legend on these tanks, but I want to do something a little more complicated than normal. Like for example, suppose I want to look for any of the tanks built before the year 2000. If they're still active, I really want them to kind of stand out. But that's 2 columns. And there are many ways to do this in the ArcMap world, but I just think the Pro makes it really easy. So I'll right-click here and go to Symbology. And while I'm in Symbology, I'll say I'd like to make a unique value legend, please. And when I make a unique value legend, instead of picking one particular column to color on, I'll go over here and I'll build an arcade expression. Now, just to be quick, I'm going to load one that I typed a few minutes ago. But this simply says, if the status of the tank is active and the date built is less than 2000, then return old active tank needs inspected. Else return not an old active tank, leave it alone. So I've essentially created two new classes of data that don't exist in the attribute table, but these classes are getting kind of figured out or derived on the fly. So when I look at my unique value legend now, see it shows old active tank, not an old active tank. So that not an old active tank are green, old active tank needs inspected. Let's change that, make it red so it really stands out. So now just quickly, most of my tanks are old active tanks, but that was the year 2000, so they're not really that old. So this on-the-fly manipulation of data is really, really cool for both symbology and labeling. And that's using that cool new expression language called Arcade. So those are the 5 cool things that I like about ArcGIS Pro. Oh, and just since you stayed to the end of the video, I'll show you one more thing. The other really cool thing is if you that's new is the ability to actually enter data on the fly for the geoprocessing tools. That's pretty cool too. Just quickly, you see this little buffer tool? Everybody knows about buffer, right? So I could, like for example, buffer these tanks by 100 feet if I wanted to. But what's cool about this new geoprocessing tool is this little pencil that shows up by the input features. So let's say I don't want to buffer the tanks. I'd like to draw a new feature and buffer that new feature on the fly. So I'm going to pick up this pencil. I'm going to draw myself a line in here. And so you see I get editing tools to allow me to draw a line. And that's going to be the thing that gets buffered. It wasn't on my map yet, but I created it. When I drew it, a feature class got created over here in my table of contents called Buffer Input Features. And that feature class actually lives over here in Catalog in my default geodatabase. My default geodatabase, Buffer Input Features. So it got created automatically using the coordinate system of my current map. It got a default name. I didn't have to change it. And so I just put my buffer distance in there, maybe 100 feet. And I'll run this guy. So that's the other, I guess, the bonus, number 6 thing that I like about Pro is this really cool ability to buffer features that get added on the fly. Not just buffer. Many of the geoprocessing tools allow that dynamic input. So there you go. Those are just a few of the simple little highlights for everyday GIS use that I think are really cool about Pro. Hopefully you found this little video useful. If you are interested in getting trained on Pro, getting migrated to Pro, check out our website, TeachMeGIS.com, or send me an email at jennifer.harrison@teachmegis.com. Thanks for listening.